Hello everybody and welcome back to another ship review episode, and today we are going to be taking a look at the Salem. Now before I get started with the review, if your name is Joshua Chalmers or Sonatech77 and you left these comments in the previous Haida video, please contact me via email, chasegamingtv@gmail.com. You can find that also in the video description below. Send me an email and we will work out how to get you that CCT code. Alright, so what is the Salem? Is she any good, and how do you get the ship? Well, from what I've heard so far, to acquire the ship, it'll be sort of, I guess, integrated with that arsenal system, the whole steel coal thing. We don't have exact details yet, but when that time comes, of course, details will come out. Aside from that, the ship itself is in many ways a Des Moines. However, it has some notable differences. And these notable differences actually change how the ship plays. First up, let's talk about the normal Des Moines a little bit. The standard Des Moines has fast auto-loading guns. She's got great AA, right? Her armor, 27mm on the bow, the stern, so that allows you to auto-bounce everything up to about 380mm if you angle correctly. 406mm and greater, that's where the threat begins. You have a 9.9 kilometer radar and a standard cruiser heel. Now, because the heel on the normal Des Moines is a standard cruiser heel, you end up playing a little bit more passively, camping behind islands, firing shells over islands, and trying to use your radar to support your team. Now, with Salem, something changes. You actually give up some radar performance. So instead of having a 9.9 kilometer radar, you're down to a shorter range 8.5 kilometer radar with a much shorter working time. So you trade that away, but what you gain in return is essentially a British cruiser heel. Now, there is some differences. It doesn't heal as much citadel damage, but it has the ability to recover a large chunk of HP. So with the Salem, the difference between this ship and the Des Moines is that, unlike the Des Moines, there are times with the Salem you can be more aggressive. Something that, as a Des Moines, you're probably not going to do because the amount of damage you're going to take is maybe too substantial and you're probably going to play a little bit more safe. This is even the case when you have to choose sort of what kind of modules you want to take with you. With the Des Moines, I've generally taken the range, just so that I can hide behind island and shoot at targets further back. But with the Salem, because I'm able to at times push out and be a little bit more aggressive, I wanted the rate of fire mod instead, because I want to be able to pump out as many shells as possible. Playstyle wise, like I said, the Des Moines is going to be a little bit more passive, a little bit more defensive. Salem, you can be a bit more aggressive. So here on mountain range, I started by, of course, going to an area with a lot of island cover. Being in this kind of area, the range is not really that big of an issue. Ships that come in, you want to have as good of a rate of fire as you can. The shorter radar, yeah, it's not as good as the standard Des Moines, but again, when a time comes, you can be more aggressive in Salem than you can with Des Moines, just because you're going to be able to heal. So, for example, here is a Richelieu. I know that the Richelieu's 380mm guns are not going to be able to overmatch my bow. So here, you'll see me become very aggressive. I'm just going to go right out, and I don't mind taking damage from secondaries, or if the Richelieu fires a high explosive. A lot of that damage, I know I'm going to be able to heal back. So I'm not really worried. I'm just going to push out aggressively with my armor piercing, which also has that great auto bounce angles for the American 203mm armor piercing. And I'm just going to go to town on the Richelieu here, all the while keeping myself angled, because if I do, of course, show a broadside, 380mm is still going to be able to citadel me, because the Salem does have the same weakness in terms of citadels as the Des Moines does. Of course, once the Richelieu blows the salvo, I get all the guns out and I finish off that Richelieu. And so yeah, at this early stage of the game, I've already managed to take down 2 ships, 102k damage. Now, there's the Iowa on the enemy team. Of course, I know the vulnerabilities of my ship to that Iowa, so I'm going to try to use this island as some cover. Of course, I know that the Iowa is also turning away, so while the Iowa is turning away, go to HE, set some fires, do a little bit of damage, but start making sure I can get away from this particular fire zone. Iowa is definitely going to be able to overmatch my bow and can potentially hurt me really, really badly from the front. So the idea is, as I'm spamming HE, you can see I'm trying to get back into more and more island cover, get off of detect, so the Iowa there cannot shoot at me. One of the other benefits of having less range is, remember how right now concealment works, that when you fire your guns, you have your detectability immediately bloom out to your maximum gun range, right? So for the Salem, because you're not taking the range module, you can sometimes engage targets, right? And if there's a ship, let's say on your side, that could have spotted you, that is further away, outside of 15 point something, they won't spot you. Now, had you been playing a Des Moines with the range module, let's say you were engaging a target 13 kilometers ahead of you, but remember your detectability to your side is like 17 point something, you're still going to get spotted, right? So this is one of those other things that does give Salem that little bit of an advantage. So as you can probably have figured already, Salem does make demands of the player. This is a ship that is very much in need of someone with good skills, who knows how to plan ahead, knows, hey, what's the next island I can move up to, knows, hey, how can I take advantage of my concealment, how can I even take advantage of my concealment after I fire my guns. Anyways, this demand on a player's individual skill is of course further challenged by, when do you actually move out, when do you play the more aggressive role, when do you absolutely play more passively, etc, etc, etc. Salem, like I mentioned, is different from the Des Moines in the fact that she can be more aggressive, and at times Salem requires you to be more aggressive. You're at times required to say, hey, can I move up to the next island and continue to apply pressure? Can I move up to the next little bit of cover and then make the opponent's lives more miserable because I'm there now and I can continue to land shells, etc, etc, etc. So in this particular battle, I moved up to the next island in order to apply pressure to the enemy's Iowa, who is basically running straight south right now. It is going to take that Iowa a good number of minutes to get back into the action, so while the Iowa was so far out, I'm like, alright, that's pretty much good enough. I'm now going to turn around, go support my team as they try to make a push onto the central B cap. And then hopefully, if we can get to sea fast enough, help the guys over there as well. Other differences between Salem and Des Moines lies in things like the consumables. Des Moines has better choices in terms of what kind of consumables she can take. So for example, Des Moines, you can sacrifice defensive AA for hydroacoustic. Now, defensive AA is only really useful if you have enemy CVs, right? So sometimes as a Des Moines player, you might want to just have hydroacoustics, but for Salem, that choice isn't there. You have to give up radar for hydro, which is not really all that worth it. Still, that heal on the Salem is truly something amazing. You could sometimes bleed a lot of HP and then be able to heal huge chunks of it back. However, the heal doesn't recharge like super quickly, so you do have to, of course, think about cover, right? This is something that is going to be common between Des Moines and Salem, is you do have to constantly be thinking about, okay, where's the next piece of cover that I can use? Alright, other than that, there's small differences as well. So Salem has slightly weaker AA, and the majority of the AA DPS is focused around the 76.2mm guns. And so, yeah, those can be knocked out by high explosives, and your AA DPS can get weaker. However, if you position correctly, and that's true for Des Moines as well, if you position correctly, it really shouldn't be that big of an issue, as theoretically speaking, if you are positioned correctly, nobody's going to be spamming too much HE at you anyways, and you should maintain your AA effectiveness. Now, obviously, one of the issues shared by both Salem and Des Moines is that if you end up in certain maps where there's not a lot of good island cover, the game becomes more challenging to play. Now, in a situation like that, I think personally I would prefer the Salem over the Des Moines, and that's primarily because Salem has that heal. It's just that simple, right? With that fantastic heal, you're going to stick around in battles longer, and the longer you stay in battles, if you're doing things correctly, the bigger the influence you're going to have in your particular battle. So in this particular battle right now, we've pushed over to the B cap. our team is starting to get onto this particular B cap, I'm still going to come up behind and continue to support my team to the best of my abilities. Apparently I haven't made that Iowa too happy because he's still shooting at me. Anyways, here is kind of one of the issues on this particular map. In this middle area, there's just not all that much cover. There's these big islands, but in terms of like smaller islands that you can shoot over, the cover isn't all that amazing. There's certain spots where you can definitely do it, but compared to where I started, which was nearer to the A cap, there was far better cover there. Still, I am going to use what little bit of cover I can over here. You know, pulling up to these rocks over here and taking a look to see what I can engage. Now obviously my priority targets are going to be ships that I can engage reasonably easily for good damage. So in this case, enemy Minotaur. Minotaur's armor is pretty damn fragile, and if you can get that Minotaur like broadside, you can get some good hits in with the armor piercing. As soon as I see the Minotaur starting to panic a little bit, because the Minotaur definitely, you can see there's a little bit of panic there, switch over to the armor piercing and start going at it. Now of course the Minotaur is a little bit further away, and USN heavy cruisers, they still have not the world's best arcs, to say the least. The shells still take a little bit of time to get there, but you know, and oh, by the way, as for the cover, you can see it's not really enough against the battleships over on the other side, but luckily they're still behind the island. So for now, engaging this Minotaur with everything I got. Hopefully gonna land some good shells there. Come on, that salvo's not that great. Gotta get that good hit into the citadel area. There we go. There's some citadel hits. And, you know, again, USN auto bounce angles definitely do help as well when you're engaging targets with armor piercing. Now, unfortunately, in this particular battle, we just weren't fast enough, right? The enemy team was able to overrun what ships we had left at the sea cap. So now we're down on ships, and we're trying to make something happen here at the B cap. So here is where I prefer Salem over Des Moines, and being able to push out a little bit more aggressively, because I can at least, I know, depend on that heal. As long as I dodge most of the shells, or you know, get most of the shells to go onto my belt armor, should be okay. Alright, torpedoes from the Minotaur. Oof. Yeah. Oh, managed to dodge it just in time, no problem. And able to use my HE first on this Missouri a little bit. Set one fire, and of course now switching over to the armor piercing. Again, with American heavy cruisers, you can go to your AP. They do reliable damage, and they do have that nicer auto bounce, right? So you don't have to worry about your shells getting bounced. So I'm starting to chunk off this Missouri in reasonable fashion, a couple thousand at a time. Oof, salvo there from the Conqueror. Thank God it was a little bit short. I think I was also like quasi-angled enough, so some of the shots that hit my belt armor was able to auto bounce, so that was good. Okay, continue to engage this Missouri here. Missouri's going down. I think the HP is really low now. And there we go. I'm going to switch over my attention to this Conqueror, who was really low. And a Royal Navy heal. Darn it. Ah, darn that Royal Navy heal. Ah. Anyways, see it, like that heal helps, right? I'm able to stay at sort of yellowish HP. It is helpful, and especially in situations where sometimes you need that little bit more survivability, it is very, very good. Now, right as I was about to finish off the Conqueror, Yamato to the Conqueror's rescue, and well, to Yamato. All in all, I like it. Unfortunately, this ended up being a loss. So, you know, but 185,000 damage is pretty damn good. 450k credits earned, 3,376 experience. On the losing team, easily top of my team there with 1,424 base. In terms of damage, check out the damage on the Richelieu, by the way. Whew, I was able to put down 64k on that Richelieu. 30,000 on the Missouri, right? Pretty darn good damage all around, and with a premium account, I would have earned 293,000 after everything's been deducted. Without premium, 142k. So, what do you think about the Salem? Does she look appealing to you? Do you prefer her over Des Moines over her? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And of course, I will also draw a crate code using the comments in the comment section below. So make sure to leave a comment, just for the crate draw if you want. Aside from all that, folks, take care of yourselves, have yourselves a good one, and of course, I will talk to all of you again in the very next video.